700 migrant children who are separated from their parents at the southern border are currently being housed right here in New York. That is according to the state's governor, Andrew Cuomo. Governor Cuomo joins me now. Governor, thank you so much for being here. Yesterday, you toured a facility right here in New York City. What can you tell us about it?
Well, first, thank you for having me, Stephanie. I think your previous guest said we're looking at theater. I think it's actually worse than that. This is a melange of government incompetence and deception and scams and really ugly politics. The zero tolerance policy that General Kelly thought would keep people from coming to the border was just a phenomenal mistake. And caused children to be sent all over the country. The executive order was a scam. It wasn't a reversal at all. It's you can't affect that executive order legally. And this 20,000 camp idea is also illegal and bizarre. The one thing we do know is you have 2,500 children scattered around the country who are highly traumatized. They're in state foster care facilities. Our state happens to have a large number of them because we have a large number of foster care facilities. And I'm trying to find out from the HHS where they actually put the children in my state.
Why don't you know?
Because I have the constitutional responsibility of helping them. Because HHS won't tell us where they put the children, which is just unconscionable to me. The mission of HHS is to protect children. I'm offering state assistance at no cost, mental health services, psychological services to help these traumatized children, and they won't even tell me where they are. So we're trying to do it the other way around by contacting facilities, finding out where the children are. I visited some yesterday, and you can just imagine the trauma and shock of these children. They appeared at the border with their parent. They were all excited to enter America. And the next thing they know, they're separated from their parents and put on an airplane. They're sent to a state they never heard of. They don't speak the language. And now they're in the middle of a foster care setting. Some of them, by the way, have been sent from foster care facilities to individual foster care homes, which is even more traumatic, and there are fewer services provided. So I want to make sure we're getting every service we can to these children, just on a humanitarian level. I mean, this is not a crisis.
Why is it that you were unable to get this information from HHS? That's what I don't understand here. While they're sending them to your state, wouldn't they want to coordinate with you? When you ask for this information, when you ask for access, help us understand their rationale in turning you down.
No response, and in my opinion, no rationale. I was formerly in the federal government. I was a cabinet secretary. I was secretary of HUD. I've worked with the federal government as governor on storms, crises, health crises. Normally, there's coordination. Why HHS would send children into facilities that the state regulates and certifies. I regulate those facilities, and they won't even tell me where they're sending them. I sent HHS a letter. I called HHS. I said, I want to provide psychological services because these children are traumatized. I spoke to them yesterday. These are young people who are in shock. The facilities that have them will say there's a very high level of psychological trauma and physiological trauma. Some are depressed, some are anxious, many are crying, they can't sleep. So they need help. Forget everything else. Forget the politics and the garbage and the lunacy of this administration.
When you were
help
at the
children,
when you were at the facility, does it seem that there's a process in place for reunification? Because when I look at whether it's the president or First Daughter Ivanka Trump's tweets, it's as though, okay, zero tolerance is over, time for everybody to get back together. But I can't seem to find a process or a policy in doing that. When you were at the facility, do those children or those employees seem to know, okay, it's over, we're all getting back together now?
No, first of all, it's impossible legally to reunite the child and the parent. By law, they cannot put the child in a detention facility And what the administration is still doing is keeping the parents in a detention facility. So you cannot unite them with the parent. When they talk about reunification, they're talking about trying to find another family member in this country, an aunt, an uncle, or something, and see if that relative will take in the child and then either wait for the decision on the parent, and if the parent gets deported, the child gets deported with the parent, or the child starts an asylum proceeding, a legal asylum proceeding. That I spoke to a young man who's been waiting over 1 year for asylum. So it's the whole situation is chaotic. And when they talk about reunification, they're not really talking about reunification with the parents unless they take the parent out of detention. They're talking about extended family members. That's all this comes down to. They're even having trouble connecting the child to the parent for communication. I spoke to one young person who's been there for months, spoke to their parent once, because they're trying to find out where the parent is, what detention center, and as you discussed, there are separate detention centers with separate rules. So you have young people who aren't even in contact with their parent. Forget reunification with an extended family member.
So, Governor, what can you do? Anything?
Well, what I can do is, despite HHS and their lack of cooperation, which I think is repugnant to the mission of HHS. Remember, HHS was the administration that was supposed to be helping young people. We're now working through the agencies that have actually received the children. Add a further complication, some of the foster care agencies have sent children to private foster care homes run by individual parents, etc. So we have to track that all down. And then I want the state to be providing the supplemental services that these children need, because the trauma they have suffered is real. Our health commissioner says it, every health professional says it. And let's at least get them the mental health services and counseling and support services they need to reduce the trauma they're suffering. And we will be doing that by contacting individual agencies. But it shouldn't be this hard, where I have to call over 100 agencies to find out where the children are. And by the way, when the children are placed in a state facility, the federal government places a gag order on the state facility, so the state facility can't even say what children they have received from the federal government. I mean, why would you try to hide these children in private facilities all across the country, rather than saying to a state, here's our situation, we're sending X number of children to your state, please help provide them services? When does humanity kick in? And where is the president used the word compassion. They had a public relations event where people go to the border. We're concerned. You're concerned? Show you're concerned. And this is how you do it. Tell me where the children are so I can actually provide services. And why they wouldn't do that means they're using these children as pawns to make a political point. We're macho on immigration. We're going to have our strong borders. It's all politics and government incompetence. They can't even do, Stephanie, what they say they want to do. You can't set up family detention centers. That's the law. And until they change the law, we're going to keep seeing this, and the pipeline of children will continue. It's not over. There's been no reversal by the president. It's continuing.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.